Okay, she be going every single night. Day and night on my mind, pushing cute vibe.
How's it going, everybody? This is Top of Drappo. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright folks, it's time for the debut of a brand new series here on my YouTube channel. It's called Classical Conversations. Obviously, many of you know that I currently work in the performing arts industry and the classical music side as a coordinator for New Jersey Symphony. Well, this series is going to be specifically about classical music. I'm going to be talking about a little bit about the history of the classical music industry and my thoughts about that, and tell you why I think it is so important. And so this series is going to talk about everything we need to know about classical music and its importance in today's world. And for this one, I'm going to talk about why it is so important, because, you know, everything that we are seeing today would not be really relevant if it wasn't for classical music. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the history of it and why I think for 3 reasons why classical music is so important in today's world. Now, obviously, as we all know, music is a very important part in life. You know, there are so many different genres of music, you know, particularly rock and metal, which is my personal favorite. We also have pop music, which is, of course, all the popular songs there is in the world right now, along with, you know, alternative, rap, jazz, funk, and a whole lot of genres of music that are out there in today's world. Well, none of them would be here if it wasn't for classical music. For those that don't know, the classical music era was mostly popular around the late 19th, early 20th century. You know, those are when you saw the majority of popular classical music hits that are around today in this world. You know, we're talking about, you know, like composers like Beethoven, along with Berlioz and Brahms, as well as, you know, guys like Tchaikovsky, as well as Mozart. You know, all of those composers, you know, those were the ones that really paved the way for this genre, and those were really the ones that paved the way for how music would be shaped for the very future of our country, along with the rest of the world. It's very important because, you know, without classical music, we would not be here enjoying the music that we enjoy right now. Every part of it is influenced because of classical music. You know, during that time in the mid-19th century, of course, we were in the midst of the Civil War, and of course, there were a whole bunch of better big events that were happening around the world as well. And because of that, you know, it was very hard to be able to get by and, you know, just enjoy life during that time with all the issues that were happening in this world. And, you know, obviously, that's where music comes in. You know, that's exactly where classical music at the time took place, because it was an opportunity for those to get away from all the troubles that were happening in this world, all of the bad things that were happening as well, and, you know, just enjoy life. You know, just enjoy the scenery and just, you know, enjoy the sights and sounds of classical music. You know, those are the kinds of things that allow people to get away from all those troubles and, you know, just sink in the moment and, you know, just really enjoy life. And it really brought a unique perspective as well, because a lot of the most popular pieces in this particular genre came from during the time of the Civil War and all the other events that came around after it during the late 19th century. You know, all of these composers, you know, they play a big role in making sure that all these big pieces that we're seeing right now are a major role in today's society. And, you know, during this time, you know, this was when music was really starting to take a real step up to where it is right now. Now, obviously, classical music may not be something that, you know, today's generation, like Gen Z, or I'm a part of, or most millennials would probably align themselves with. However, it is still of relative importance because, you know, it brings into a lot of discussion about certain topics in life. And of course, there are so many places that really convey that message. And, you know, the New Jersey Symphony where I work at, you know, that's one area where we deliver that message, because, you know, we're delivering some of the most popular pieces out there. And, you know, this upcoming centennial season, we have so many big pieces that we're going to get to play across 5 different destinations. And it's not just to, you know, entertain audiences, it's also to get them to think, also to learn, and also just to bring a reflection about life and where we are at right now with everything that is going on in this world, because, you know, this genre brings so much importance into that. And of course, you have those big 5 orchestras, you know, like Philadelphia and the New York Philharmonic, as well as, you know, the Boston Symphony, as well as the Chicago and Cleveland Symphony orchestras. You know, those are the ones that really convey this message the best. You know, they are able to, you know, deliver out all the stops and really put out performances every weekend, not just to entertain entertain, but also to allow opportunities to learn about where we are now and why we would not be here without classical music, because it's not just a huge importance in music as well, it's also a very huge importance on life. As time goes on, obviously classical music may continue to fade away from those that listen to it the most, but ultimately there's going to be new generations that are going to pick this up. Like some people in my generation, obviously, I've been spreading the influence about New Jersey Symphony and what we do as well, and I'm sure that there are going to be more people in my generation that are going to be doing the exact same, and it's going to be the same exact thing with the next generation after that, and it's going to be with the next generation after that as well. Trust me, music is extremely important in life, and the reason why is because of its roots, and you have to go all the way back to the mid 19th century to when this genre brought it to life to where it is right now. So why do I think classical music is important today? Well, I'm going to give you 3 reasons as to why I think it is important today, and also reasons why I think we should all take into consideration about where we are as humans, as well as where we are in this world today without this particular genre. Because I feel like that this genre is exactly what's paved the way to be able to listen to the new music that we are enjoying right now, as well as enjoying life as well. The first reason why I think it's important is because it paved the way for today's music. As I said before, all the genres that we listen to today, like rock, or even pop, or rap, or jazz, and R&B, and all of that stuff, none of these genres would have been able to be existing right now if it wasn't for the importance of classical music. And I say that because all of these genres alone, they gained influence from the late 19th to early 20th century as a result of classical music. As a result, there have been a lot of times where, there have been pieces from classical music that have been, remixed, or even, included in some of those popular pieces. Like one example I can give in particular was the Verve's Bittersweet Symphony. There was a piece from back, I believe, somewhere around the late 19th century that was actually incorporated in that particular song, all the violin stuff and all that stuff. That was a major influence from that time, and there are so many genres that are out there today that incorporate elements of classical music in it because it is extremely important in today's society. Now, yes, obviously pop, rap, R&B, and rock, those are really the ones that get all the influence today. But however, all of them are influenced as a result of this particular genre. And so while you're listening to your favorite songs, while you're listening to your favorite genres, think about how it got here and why it is important today, because all of them have an influence as a result of some of the big pieces that took place back in the late 19th to early 20th century, and they would not be here without classical music. The second reason is because it allows you an opportunity to learn, maybe even be inspired as well, because there are some people that enjoy playing music themselves. There are some that want to pick up a guitar and learn how to play, form a band or something like that, or maybe even those that have an interest in classical music and want to perform in an orchestra, maybe as a violin player, or maybe as like a trumpet player or a percussion player, where I was when I was going from elementary school to high school. There are many inspirations that have come from classical music. Obviously, there are some people that may want to pick up an instrument and try to learn some classical music stuff. Like there are some people that will want to pick up like a percussion set and then just learn how to play some of the most popular songs out there, just like, learning how to play a timpani on a song from Beethoven, or maybe use that to learn something like modern, like learn how to play a popular rock song and all of that stuff, like there are so many people out there that have an interest in music and even want to pursue it as a career, that it is a genre that plays a role into that. I can guarantee you, every single one of the musicians that are in the New Jersey Symphony, all of them were influenced and inspired by classical music. A lot of them really were inspired to pursue this genre and even pursue classical music performing as a career because of this genre. And a lot of them have taken inspiration from some of that. Some of their favorite pieces, some of their favorite songs have come from classical music. And there is a major influence that takes place for every single one of these musicians as a result of this genre. And if you're somebody that enjoys listening to classical music and would like to pursue that, hey, this might be an opportunity for you to be able to utilize some of that, learn a little bit about the history of it. Maybe learn some classes as well, where you can learn how to play some of them and ultimately go out and have a successful career as a musician in this field yourself. It definitely brings a lot of inspiration to everybody, and not just that, but also, in other areas of life as well. And that's exactly where the third point comes in. The third, and I think the most important reason why it is important today, is because it allows us to reflect on life, learn about some of the big issues that are facing our world today, and more importantly, reflects on why we are here, why we as human beings exist, and why we are in the world that we are right now. During the time in the Civil War era, there were a lot of issues. There was a lot of Reconstruction, there were issues with slavery, and there were a lot of musicians both in Europe as well as in America that were happening in the late 20th century as well, that would end up being inspired by classical music, because every one of these pieces, it delivers a message. It could be a message of love, respect each other, no matter the color of their skin, or even, their race or religion or something like that, or where they come from. It can allow us to learn a little bit more about the issues happening around us, like climate change or something like that, or, maybe just an opportunity to help rebuild our cities and, bring life back in our areas. It brings a lot of political messaging as well as a lot of social issues into the public sphere, and classical music does convey that a lot more than you usually think. Trust me, there are a lot of things that make this very important, because in today's world we are still experiencing some of these issues today. All the issues with racism, along with all the issues that are happening outside of that, like the possibility of domestic extremism, like social justice issues, and as well as issues outside of our control, like climate change, and all the other issues that are surrounding that right now. There is a lot of issues that are happening in our country, and it's very hard to be able to find an influence as a result of that. Classical music is important because it conveys those messages. It allows us to learn more about where we are in our world right now as a result of it, and all the messages that classical music brings to us, along with some of those pieces, it allows us to be more inspired, pick up something and be a part of a campaign, do more in social justice, and also just pursue ways to help bring equality in this world, and just enjoy life along with music. It does so much of that it allows us to give a better understanding of exactly what we can do to help make our world a better place. It isn't easy, and I know there are a lot of people that will probably think that I'm crazy when I say this, but it is important for that reason. Classical music conveys very important messages about life, and I think it does that a lot more than all the other genres that are out there in this world today. So whenever you're looking at a huge issue that's happening in the news, or as well as something that's really important around the world, remember, classical music, whenever you're listening to something like that, it reflects on what is happening in this world today, and it may leave us inspired to be a part of that change and also bring better peace and justice in this world. It may not be as popular now as it was in the late 19th century and the early 20th century, but it is still around for a reason, because it conveys a lot of important messaging. It brings us together, and also it inspires us. Everything that we hear in this world today when it comes to new music, along with everything that's happening in our world, is influenced because of classical music. And I don't think we would be here right now if it wasn't for this particular genre. So whenever you are listening to your favorite songs in the car, or whether or not you are at a concert, or even, just reflecting on life, looking at, like the sun, and just, enjoying what's happening in life, just think about the role that classical music has brought, because without it, we would not be able to have a better understanding of where we are now and what we can do to help make our world a better place without it. So that's why I think classical music is so important, because it conveys a message, it inspires everybody, and more importantly, it allows us to reflect and better understand where we are right now and what we can do for our planet in the future. Alright, so that is my take on why I think it is so important. I would like to start hearing from you, some of those that are classical music lovers. Why do you think it's so important? And more importantly, what do you think classical music does that makes the genre so important today? And more importantly, what kind of topics for classical conversations would you like for me to talk about next? Feel free to let me know down in the comments, and I'll be more interested in hearing your opinions about it. Anyways, that's going to do it for another video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. Comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's vlogs, projects, and challenges, you name it. Leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for another video. I hope you're having another great day. And as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.